can you lend me $150? I'll definitely pay it back.
Under the scorching 97 degrees Fahrenheit sun, my grandson arrived at our house after an hour of cycling. His face was beet red, and he looked utterly exhausted.
I need to pay my school lunch fee quickly, or I won't be able to go to school.
I glanced at my husband, seeking help, and he stood in front of our grandson with a fierce expression.
You came to borrow money from us.
My name is Sarah, and I'm 67 years old. I live with my husband Kenny, and I retired from work 7 years ago. Our only son, Max, had already grown up and left home, and we were living a somewhat mundane retired life with no particular hobbies. However, 7 years ago, during my retirement, there was one daily joy, the birth of my grandson, Martin. He was incredibly adorable, the apple of my eye. Unfortunately, that happiness lasted only a year. You see, Max's ex-wife, Jessie, was having an affair. And to make matters worse, it turns out that Martin's biological father isn't Max but Jessie's affair partner, the CEO of a major company. Despite the usual tendency for mothers to have custody, Jessie's remarriage to this wealthy man put her in a more advantageous position. To add to the unfortunate timing, Max received an overseas work assignment, leaving me with no choice but to relinquish custody of Martin. And so, separated from our grandson, we lived our days feeling purposeless. But one day, something remarkable happened that jolted us awake. It was a hot July day. My husband and I reminisced about our grandson, Martin. You know, Martin will be starting elementary school this year. Can you imagine how cute he'd look in a little suit?
Yeah, I know. But it's no use. Martin is already living with his new family.
I understand, but we were supposed to be getting ready for summer vacation by now, so that Martin can come stay with us anytime. As I looked out the window, basking in the sun's warmth, I couldn't help but wish that my grandson could share this moment with me. Just then, the doorbell rang. My husband opened the door, and his eyes widened as he stood there, momentarily speechless. Curious, I followed his gaze and found myself equally stunned. Standing before us was Martin, our long-lost grandson. His resemblance to Max, our son, was uncanny. Despite years of separation, I recognized him instantly. Jessie claimed he was the child of her affair partner, but it seems Martin's true father is Max after all. As I gazed at Martin's face, my grandson opened his small mouth.
Grandma, can you lend me $150? I promise I'll pay it back.
What do you need it for? And by the way, aren't you Martin? Why are you here?
I can't go to school unless I pay for lunch. Please help me, Grandma.
Taken aback by the sudden request, I learned that my grandson had ridden his bicycle for an hour in scorching 97 degrees Fahrenheit heat to get here. His face was flushed, and he looked utterly exhausted. We brought Martin inside the house and let him rest before hearing his story. In summary, he had enrolled in a private elementary school 3 months ago. He enjoyed going to school every day, surrounded by new friends. However, one day, Jessie, his mother and my ex-daughter-in-law, received a call from the school. It turned out that she hadn't paid for Martin's school lunches since enrolling. Jessie hung up the phone and glared at Martin with fury. I don't have money because your school lunch fees are too high. You don't need to go to school starting tomorrow. Since then, Martin believed that he could attend school if he paid for his lunches. I listened to that story with suspicion. It's hard to believe that Jessie, who remarried the CEO of a major corporation, can't afford school lunch fees. Moreover, legally, Max is Martin's father, so Jesse has been paid child support since our divorce. What's going on? Could it be that Jesse is misusing the money? My heart ached for my grandson, who was deprived of his rightful opportunity to learn and was feeling miserable. But there was another question nagging at me. Martin and I hadn't seen each other since he turned 1 year old. So, there was no way he remembered us. Why do you know me as Grandma? And how did you find this house?
Mom told me when she was drunk. She said my current dad isn't my biological father. The real dad abandoned me.
I covered my mouth with both hands and closed my eyes. It took effort, but I managed to say, "That's not true. Your dad cares deeply about you." My grandson nodded.
Yeah, I know. I found a letter from my real dad in Mom's desk drawer.
Can you read letters written by adults?
Yes. I can search for difficult words on my smartphone.
According to the grandson, the letter included Max's wish to take Martin in and his home address. It seemed that this was in anticipation of Max's overseas assignment ending in a few months. Martin seemed to have been quite hesitant about visiting us. When he thought he might be a bother, tears welled up. Such consideration doesn't quite suit our recently turned 7-year-old Martin. How did he become a child so concerned about others' opinions? It was a dream come true to reunite with our grandson, but I couldn't hold back the sadness when I saw Martin. As I reached for a tissue to wipe away the tears on Martin's cheek, my husband Kenny, who had been quietly listening, approached Martin with an intense expression.
Did you come here to borrow money from us?
I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have come here after all?
Martin's face crumpled and large tears dropped to the floor. Seeing this, I tried to come between my husband and my grandson, but my husband was quicker than that to approach Martin and hug him.
If you knew, you should have turned to us sooner. We never forgot you, not even for a moment.
He must have been frustrated that his grandson was having a hard time. My husband's voice trembled with tears. Then, when Martin had calmed down a bit, I told him again that it was okay for him to stay and asked him about his life so far. Although my ex-daughter-in-law, Jessie, has not hurt Martin, she is definitely a lousy mother. She took advantage of the fact that her remarried partner Jack was busy, and not only did she not cook Martin's meals, but even when she was home, she spent most of her time on social networking sites and playing video games on her phone. She also spent a lot of time playing with other men, even inviting them to her house and inviting them into her bedroom on the worst occasions. It was during a party at home with this man that he told Martin that Jack was not his real father. And not only was she cheating on him in front of her own children, but what was most unforgivable was what she said to Martin when he found out about it. "You were a tool to make me the wife of the president of the company, so you don't have to study." Can we really call her a mother now? We immediately took action because of the way my ex-daughter-in-law treated my grandson. You're not going to leave it like this, are you?
Of course not. I'm going to get back custody. Call Max right now.
In the first place, we gave custody to Jessie partly because Max was going to work overseas, but most of all because we thought she was necessary to raise Martin. However, since she was not taking care of the child properly, we could not leave Martin with her any longer. When I explained this to Max, he said, "I can't leave right away, but I have an idea," and hung up the phone. The next contact I made was with my ex-daughter-in-law, Jessie, who said, "I'm going to leave Martin with you for a while." I'm going to keep Martin for a while. Oh, okay. Then, please take care of him for me. I was surprised at how quickly she answered. She seemed to be neither surprised nor opposed to our son Martin staying with us, as if her current husband was on a long business trip and it was just convenient for her. Or maybe she really wasn't interested in Martin. 2 weeks later, we took Martin to visit my ex-daughter-in-law at her home. When I rang the doorbell, she appeared in a tedious manner and ushered us alone into the living room, except for Martin. Martin, go to your room. Don't you understand unless you're told every single time? Seeing Martin, whose cheerful smile he had shown us had disappeared and he had become very quiet, I felt sadness and anger toward my ex-daughter-in-law at the same time. A deep crease was clearly etched between my husband's eyebrows. Let me get straight to the point. Give our son custody right now. What? What is that? You're just taking care of Martin for 2 weeks and you're getting all worked up about it. Besides, Max is overseas, isn't he? Jessie laughed at me with a pompous attitude. She must know that once the custody is decided, it is not easy to take it back. Max will be back home soon after his overseas assignment, so there's no problem. Oh, really? I'm the one who can afford it financially, and I'm the one who can make Martin happy, so the answer is obvious, right? Right. That's why I'm asking you to give us custody. What? Are you even listening to me? That's what you are, old granny. I told Jessie, who was spitting back at me, why Martin had come to my house 2 weeks ago. How is it that you are so wealthy and don't pay for school lunches? She didn't think we knew about it, and she mumbled, Martin, he, and then gritted her teeth. And you're still his mother, forbidding him to go to school. He's even talking about that. Oh. That's so annoying. I told him that Max and we will raise him together. Why are you so obsessed with Martin that you have to treat him so badly? I could hear my own voice trembling with anger. But Jessie gave a thin smile and said the impossible words. Of course it's obvious. He's Jack's child. That's why Jack married me. You know what I mean. I needed him to be Mrs. President. This is the story I later heard. Jessie falsely claimed that Martin was Jack's child and forced him to marry her. Jack himself had wanted a successor as president of the company, and he believed it and agreed to marry her. I knew how my ex-daughter-in-law felt about Martin, but I couldn't help but feel sorry for Martin when she put it into words. The only saving grace was that Martin was in his room and was not listening to Jessie. You really do think of Martin as a tool, don't you? So what? Still, I'm his mother, so it doesn't change the fact that I have the advantage. You old people with your pensions and your spare time should stay out of it. What kind of mother are you, that when you lived with Max you were cheating on him, and now you are cheating on someone else, and in front of Martin's eyes? Jessie is clearly upset because she has hit a sore spot. You're going to be found out by your current husband before long, and you need to give custody back to Max before Martin becomes unhappy. Just as she was about to finish or not finish those words, Martin came out of the children's room.
Mom, I know you like other men more than me. I want to live with my dad at Grandma's house.
I had heard Martin's feelings before, but I had never expected my young grandson to say it himself. Jessie's eyes widened in surprise. What are you talking about, forgetting that I gave birth to you? What are you going to do if I get a divorce? If you don't tell them, they won't know, so shut up. As I was getting too much out of line, the front door opened and a certain someone walked in. It was Jesse's second marriage. It was Jack, Jesse's current husband.
I guess I wasn't Martin's father.
Hey, what are you talking about? There is no way. Martin is definitely your child.
Max told me everything. And I got an email with a picture of Max as a child, and he looks exactly like Martin. I'll give custody to Max.
My son Max, who said he had his own ideas. He didn't think his ex-wife would be easily convinced, so he reached out to Jack first. Don't be silly. That boy is your successor, remember?
You told Martin, didn't you? You told Martin that Max is the real father. If you still insist on saying it's my child, you want a DNA test.
Jessie was silent for a moment, but then her eyes suddenly lit up. Well, we can give Martin back to Max and we can have another baby. Then let's just get rid of these people and Martin.
You really think I'm an idiot, don't you? I told you Max told me everything. And that you were having an affair.
You're being deceived. There is no proof of that anywhere. I was getting numb to my ex-daughter-in-law, who was brazenly trying to cover it up to no end. At this point, I confronted her with the photos I had taken of her cheating on her husband. They showed them hugging and kissing each other in a hotel cafe, as well as the moment she brought the cheating partner into her home. Wait, when did you, how? Just like you said. We are bored old folks. It's easy enough to take pictures like this. Jessie's face turned red and she took the picture away from me. I couldn't tell if she was embarrassed or angry, but I could tell she was upset.
I'm divorcing you. Get the hell out of here.
Hey. How am I going to live if you divorce me? I'm not going to live without money. But Jack's eyes were cold as he looked at Jessie, whose eyes were moist and she was clinging to him. Jessie must have finally realized the situation she was in. The look of despair on her face was clear. I shouldn't have told Martin who his real father was. That's not the point. If you had raised Martin properly as his mother, none of this would have happened. You deserved it. Jessie stared at the ground for a while, then suddenly looked up and this time rubbed up against me. Well, yes. Could you ask Max not to take custody? Please. No matter who gets custody of Martin, Jack's heart has already left you. Don't you understand that? I didn't want to talk any more with Jessie, who saw Martin as just a tool until the very end. You have no right to call yourself Martin's mother. At best, you regret what you have done. I left Jessie, who nodded in disappointment at these words, and left her house with my husband, taking Martin with me. Jessie was then divorced by Jack and thrown out without a penny. She then asked for $3 million in alimony for deceiving Martin that he was Jack's child and for cheating on him. Max also said he would charge $600 per month for child support until Martin was an adult. Once Jessie was dumped by Jack, none of her former lovers came around, and she had to start working at night to pay the alimony. After Max returned to Japan, custody of my grandson was safely returned to him. Every day I am happy to see Martin happily going to school and happily talking about the day's events. We will continue to live together as a family, watching Martin's growth by our side. What did you think of this story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.